All right, we are really doing it. I'm here with Steve Mitchell. Welcome to the State of My Art podcast, episode numero uno.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you for being on, man. This is really cool. It's just cool to even just catch up. I haven't seen you in probably 2 years, 3 years.
Honestly, it's been quite the little journey for both of us, of you doing what you're doing and me doing what I've been doing, and now it's a great opportunity with not only just a setting of we're just sitting here and shooting the proverbial shit, but having the opportunity to be able to share it with an audience as well.
Yeah, and we're gonna do our best to do that. I'm very new to the broadcast world. This is the first time I've ever really hosted an interview, and that's kind of what this is about, is like just starting, making the decision to go for it. And whatever art you're into, whatever art people at home are into, maybe we can inspire them. And for those of you who don't know, we are here at Smokey's Dungeon in the beautiful today, Brampton, Ontario, Canada. It's a very nice day outside. We'll start with weather. Why not?
Right?
And what else is going on? We have a crazy virus going around that I'm sure everybody's sick of hearing about and talking about.
Agreed.
But it's a reality. We have our masks here. We are distance apart.
Exactly.
And I'm going to wipe down our surfaces after. And we are both, even though untested, clear of the coronavirus.
Yeah. We hugged. Everything seemed to be everything seemed to be fine. I haven't been 100% tested, but I can tell you for a fact my immune system feels really strong, and I feel really good. So.
I feel better than ever, and we are like 9-10 weeks into this thing. So
yeah.
I'm pretty confident we're good, but we'll see where it goes, and we'll hope for the best. I hope everyone else is doing well, and I hope you're keeping safe and
hope for you and yours and everybody is safe and happy and healthy out there.
Yeah. So let's get into it. What have you been up to? What's your days looking like these days?
Well, since the giving up, because I was a longtime musician, was a drummer for quite some time, for I would say along the lines of about 20 years, and then an unfortunate back injury that put a standstill to all of that. And I made the choice, like a lot of others, and we'll go back to a lot of the details of the music and the drumming and everything like that. But to put it mildly, a lot of my eccentric love for the show and how much I would love to put myself into the show unfortunately caused quite an injury, and so that caused a lot of setback in the fact that I got to stop everything, and now I got to take some time to rehabilitate this. And then after taking about a year and a half of full solid rehabilitation and extending my entire program to really make sure that I've seen a lot of back injuries and had a lot of people telling me that, like, no, you'll always have it. It'll be a nagger and it won't ever really go away. Those were the words all I really needed to hear to be like, no, I'm going to make it go away. It has to, because that's the only way an injury works, is you have to make it eventually has to deplete and it has to go away unless you manage it properly. And now I'm in the management portion of my life where every single day is pain management, making sure that I am absolutely tip top. And then in terms of that, made me a hell of a better drummer, getting back to the drum set again after taking most people. This sounds really, really, really scary for a lot of people, to take a year and a half away from your instrument. Yeah. And what are you going to be like when you get back to it and everything like that. And all I did was just welcome it to the point of, I bet you if I take care of this, go back to the drumming again, everything will be super stellar. And so I'm spending a lot of my time really accentuating my drumming qualities and abilities that I never had before, that I was able to take over the time span of, you basically take a 20-year period of what you learn, and then you strip that all down and then go, okay, let's go back to the very beginning again and actually take the whole thing back to a very beginning mentality, even though you have the knowledge you have, and then you build off of that. And that's really where the skill set is really building from there. And then, of course, once COVID-19 is all wrapped up and everything is all calm and kosher again, whatever we're going to get in terms of venues, and I feel like that would be a great thing for us to deep dive into, of what do we both kind of think is the state of the union reunion of what we think the state of music will really be when it actually comes back to everything comes back to fruition, and how slow of a start it'll be, you know, so on and so forth. And I digress, because it's where today is landing me, because that's the real answer to the question you asked before, is really, where are you at today? Man, I've never been happier with being able to just make my own choices and being able to do whatever the fuck I want, really. At the end of the day, of being able to make my own choice and decision as my own businessman, as my own call shotter, as my own every single thing that I really wanted, as my own call shotter, my own shot caller, where I have the ability to just make my own shots and make my own calls of really what it is that I want to do and what's going to make me the most happiest to wake up in the morning. And if something isn't going right, then that's great. I don't have a team of people to rely it upon to be able to get that one person that I know is going to kibosh my idea that I know is that I want to go with, that I need to go with. And so at the end of the day, now I have the ability to just make all those decisions for myself and have really no one else to rely on but me. And
Independence,
it's amazing.
Man. I feel like you've always been a real advocate of that. And I mean, for those of you who don't know, Steve is the original lead singer of Rosedale, I guess. Original in the sense that our first release, for those of you who have the Pastimes with Old Friends EP, that is not my voice on there. That is Steve's voice. And so I've gotten to know Steve a lot over the years. And what's really ironic and cool about having you as the first guest on the podcast is you were in my first favorite local band, and you guys practiced next door to me. By Permit Only.
That was this band,
dude.
And it's awesome. I got a double whammy out of it, because
I thought you were going in for the dabs. Yeah,
it looked like I was going in for the dab. So I'll give you the real one, and then I'm showing the audience and also showing them the By Permit Only, the fact of how much this band really meant to me. I needed it tattooed on my arm,
dude. I remember. I didn't even know that you guys lived next door to me, but I had seen you guys through Supernova shows and was so stoked. And then I was like, that's Colin Jennison, who was your lead singer. And
of course, you definitely got to get him on the podcast eventually.
I got to have him on here, yeah.
Got to have him on here.
My first 14-year-old, oh, what a good songwriter hero. And he lived next door to me, and you guys would practice. And I never actually saw you guys practice, but I was at every freaking show, even when you guys played little fairs and festivals. I was
true, man.
If I can't get there, I'm hopping in their van when they're leaving and going with Colin and his family to the show.
Yeah,
man. So it was amazing how the first full circle thing where it was I never thought that one of my heroes, because I would just watch you drum for most of the show, as any pop punk band fan does, is you're just staring at the drummer go hard, and you would sing all these harmonies, and you became such a great singer and would go to Tom Oliver, who I still train with. And then
interesting.
Yeah. And
that is the most, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but this is going to be that is the most interesting part of this whole thing to me at the end of the day. I got to get Tom's number from you after this.
That was a whole valley too. Yeah. Wow. That went on to get me singing in Disney movies,
Jesus.
Just through that connection.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'll bring it back to when me and John Podsy Hun, who was the singer at the time of Rosedale, after they were like, Mike, you got to stop singing, you're brutal. And then John wasn't so hot either. So we started taking vocal lessons from you. Yeah. Everything you were learning from Tom Oliver.
The only two vocal students I've ever had in my entire life was you and John.
Yeah. And then one day we were like, you know what? He's only a few years older than us. Why don't we just have him be the lead singer? And I remember John met you at McLaughlin and Queen Tim Hortons, sat you down and was like, all right, dude, do you want to be our singer? And you were like, hell yeah. You're always down to try new things. And you went for it. And we went. Finally, the ambitions that we had started happening because you were kind of the older brother of the band, and you were like, no, you can't keep dealing with these producers who are only willing to work a few hours a month. Let's go to Sean Andrews, who was also in By Permit Only, which became Heed.
Yes, and then ended up being the producer. Sean Andrews actually ended up being the actual producer of Pastimes with Little Friends.
In his bedroom.
In his first big thing too, that it was literally like it was awesome because it was such a full circle deal for like everybody who was literally trying this brand new thing all at once.
It became the spark for what we're still doing. And for those of you who haven't seen Steve drum, he's been an amazing drummer since I've known him and is continuing to blow my mind with the videos he posts. And quite frankly, you deserve way more of a following on your Instagram. If you're on Instagram, what is it, at Steve the Animal Mitchell?
It's Steve the Animal Mitchell, yes.
On Instagram, check him out. And also what really drew me into your Instagram is your story, because you have a very cool way of talking about mental health, and what you have going on with that is really inspiring. I think it would resonate with a lot of people, especially a lot of the friends that I've gotten to know around the country. I think I'm like, man, I really need these people to meet Steve if they only knew. Because one of the things I love about your approach, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're very like, start with your health, start with your fitness. And I mean, we've always gone on runs.
Yes.
And I just got that vibe from you anyway, that it was like, hey, we're going to feel better if we go on this run. Like, run for fun was always the joke. I don't know if it's a quote from a movie.
That was from Back to the Future.
Okay.
It was like, run for fun? What the hell kind of fun is that?
I'm the most uncultured. I've seen a backpack full of movies and everyone gives me shit for it.
It's okay. I'll say, I know there's the random clip on YouTube. I can just crop that and I'll send it. I'll just share it. I'll get that to you.
Cool.
And then you'll finally know where run for fun came from.
Yeah. But we would literally run for fun quite a bit.
It's true.
And I still, when I'm home, when I'm back here, take that path along the old Etobicoke River, which is more of a creek near us.
Yeah.
And it just clears my mind. And I always push that on people that are like really struggling, especially out on the road with me when we're sitting in a van all the time, and you don't realize that, like, yeah, you're seeing all this country and landscape, but you actually got to like get out and feel it sometimes.
Correct.
Which, yeah, and then aside from that, obviously, that's not the only answer, and there's a lot of amazing things out there now for mental health, and you really expose that too. So I guess, why don't you talk about where you've been through with that, at least whatever you're comfortable with.
Well, I'm pretty open book at this point, considering, if you go check out my Instagrams, again, it's at Steve the Animal Mitchell. There's a ton of videos on. There's a ton of really, like, I don't really have, I feel like because I lived my whole mental health journey on the internet, starting with literally, where I literally went from day one, where I actually filmed a video from Bell Let's Talk Day. It was when I noticed Bell Let's Talk Day was becoming a thing personally, and people can, crap all over me for whatever it is. I think it's a huge crock of shit. I think it's all about just, not really helping the mental health as much as it is trying to capitalize on the name mental health to actually make more money based off of that. That's just my opinion. But however, I ended up through the one thing that I will say that was very beneficial from Bell Let's Talk Day was the amount of let's start the conversation that was really going on. I haven't really heard much of an ending to this conversation. I've only really heard the conversation. So, but however, now that we're getting it, that's where I felt like it was important to really let's not only understand and break down this mental health thing, but actually let's try and find a real answer to really what's actually really happening to these people, because it's happening to then not only just myself, but to so many other people. And so from that first day journey of walking into my doctor, because I had no idea what to do, I had no clue how to fix this thing. Yeah. All I knew was that, so first of all, symptoms. My symptoms consisted of, and I know a lot of other people out there that can all relate to that, the highest level of skin crawling feeling you can ever imagine of how badly you wish you could jump out of it. the highest level of anxiety you could ever feel about problems and things, and just literally to the point, my anxiety was so bad to the point where I would say either my anxiety started with hello and goodbye with people, because I would always want to make sure that it was right. This is the first, even if it's a person that I've known for a really long time, it would be, oh shoot, I screwed this up. Oh crap. Oh God, this guy thinks I'm so stupid right now.
To me.
And then when I would leave people, the biggest thing would be when I'm saying goodbye to people, because I would always feel like whenever I said bye to people, it was in my mind, because I literally programmed my own mind to feel like this for so many years.
Totally.
That it was wrong every single time. I was always wrong. I always said it wrong. I always dabbed wrong. I did this too weird and like all this thing. Like I would go in my head so badly to the point that it would actually be there the next time that I would show up to the next time I would see that same person, because I would think to myself of how much I need to rectify this now with the thing that I never needed to rectify in the first place.
I get that all the time too. I think, oh, this person thinks I'm a dweeb from the last time I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But
no matter how good or how bad it ever went, it was always, or no matter how good or how weird or different or whatever it was in my mind, it never mattered. It was always just as bad, just as horrible, just as all the above. But then it would go into the next, then that would spill over into so many other areas of my life that I would cause anxiety for myself, that I would make anxiety for myself. I would go out of my way to literally run the hamster wheel of anxiety every single minute of every single day, all the time. And no matter how many gifts I knew I was given, no matter how many great things I was ever had as an opportunity, no matter how many things I ever imagined in my head that was great, never mattered. I was always stupid. I always talked for way too long. I always had way too, I stunk too bad, or whatever it was that was constantly bombarding my brain with, you're wrong.
Shoulda, woulda, could've.
Shoulda, woulda, could've, all the time. And then started to realize the concept that maybe we need to deep dive into some of these things in my life that actually don't make sense to me, that actually maybe happened a long time ago, start to understand them more, and then start to actually unravel and start to unbreak the shell, which also at the exact same time got some really, really, really terrible shit that I found out that recently that happened to me as a child that I was able to understand, learn from, and run right into it. And the biggest part of what I understand about overcoming all of these boundaries when it comes to mental health, and I'm sort of jumping from little things and little things, but however, the biggest boundary that I ever found of breaking the chains of mental health was understanding the concept that whatever's wrong with me and whatever I know is wrong with me, I got to understand what it is. And the only way to understand what it is I got to run right the fuck into it as hard as I possibly can. It's going to be really hard too, and it's going to suck, and it's going to be the worst thing ever to face this and stand right in front of it. It's basically like sitting in front of, like, imagine if you really believed in Satan and saying, I'm going to walk into Satan's room and I'm going to have an interview with him. I want to sit down with him and talk to him. Like, that would be a very scary thing for a lot of people. But whatever the scariest thing you can possibly imagine, just envision the scariest thing you could possibly imagine in your mind. And then imagine yourself running into it. And imagine yourself actually sitting with it and actually doing it and dealing with it, and with which something that you just couldn't bear to deal with.
And that's, discomfort, which is obviously such a great way to heal any sort of issue. Is like, if you hate running, run more. If you hate, anything that's uncomfortable. And then to that point of anxiety and like even just being shy, which I think I'm a lot more visually obvious about it than you, because that's why I say I'm surprised by it, is because another reason why I figured it'd be a great reason to have you as the first one on the podcast is if I freeze up and don't want to talk, I know you will.
That's awesome.
Right. You know how to talk, and it's interesting to listen to, and that's why I love hanging out with you too, is there's always interesting things that I can relate to and you talk about.
Yeah.
But back to like the thing of being uncomfortable is there's this test, the watermelon test, where you walk into a supermarket and grab a watermelon and smash it on the floor, and everybody looks at you like, what is wrong with this guy? But your level of outgoingness, for lack of better words, is going to improve so much from that exercise.
True, man.
I can't remember where I read that, but it came up a couple times in some things, and I was like, man, I would hate to do that, but at the same time, if I was in high school, that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. And
That was what I was into when I was in high school.
And that's the best part. It's like you can think about that in the concept of like how almost kind of backwards your mind was in high school, and the fact that you never thought about any of these things in that regard, and you never took these things so seriously is the way that a lot of things back in high school was just like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go for it. I don't really care. I know, dude, maybe that might not work. And dude, you're literally not even thinking about that person. No matter what they're saying, you're not even paying attention to it, because the only thing you're focused on is your tunnel vision, your goal, and just going for it. And just literally doing everything possible, even though you, like Elon, that's why Elon Musk is actually one of my favorite human beings on planet Earth. Because every single thing he's ever done has been, bro, you know that only has like a 10% chance of like working, right? Like, you pick like the worst things to like not work out, right? And that's what everyone tells him the whole time. But it doesn't matter how small the percentage is. You could literally take that 0 off the end of that and make it 1. And it could be 1% chance that you have to make it work. But if you believe in that hard enough and and it's so cliche, and a lot of people are like, oh, great, I believed, if I just believe it, I can achieve it. And it's like, actually, yeah, you really can. You really, honestly, really, truly can. If you don't believe in any of it, and you're really genuinely afraid, then you're only focused on afraid, and the chances are it's 100% of the time. 100% of the time, it's scientifically proven that it won't work out for you because you don't believe that it's going to happen. There's no belief level to make it so that you could actually maybe possibly get over this, that there's a chance that even though you've been dealing with it your whole life and maybe you're still not, oh man, I don't think I can get over this. It's too hard. I can't. It's too hard. Well, guess what? It was too hard for Elon Musk at 10% before he built SpaceX, and he fucking went and built SpaceX. So at the end of the day, and Tesla, and literally every single possibility, any single one of them, the biggest thing that I ever heard from people who are very, 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 very successful in this world is the fact that everyone in this world has problems, but they're the ones who are problem solvers. And they're the ones who solve the problems and actually go out of their way to solve the problem and make sure that no matter, even if it was a problem that you didn't think was going to work, they still made it come out right.
Yeah, and to the point of Elon Musk, it's like if anyone is going to accomplish these insanely ambitious ideas, it's him, because he's been doing them all his life. And the more you do it, and it's never too late too. And I mean, back to the whole point of this podcast, as it is episode 1, is that's why I'm doing it, is like, I never really imagined myself being a broadcaster, other than the times where I think I should probably do this podcast. But if the sooner I do it, the better I'm going to get. And it's never too late. I mean, I wanted to do this a year ago, but it was just like I had other things come up that I was like, hey, I already know how to do that. So yeah, I'll do that. Whereas this, it's like finally now we're like stuck in our homes with nothing to do. And I'm like, I'm going to start it. I'm going to go after it. And hopefully it inspires other people to do the same thing. I know a lot of people that are like stuck at home getting after it and saying, they've never been a better version of themselves because they're finally throwing their time into art and well-being. And yeah, they might be a little lonely, but at the same time, we have like such a crazy platform of social media now to like connect with people. I feel like I'm talking to my friends more than when I was like out on the road begging them to come to shows.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. And you were, honestly, I really do believe that this is, for everyone who's like listening to this for the first time, honestly, this has been a deal for me that I always believed that Mike Liordi was, he's just a serious ambassador when it comes to everything that he's advocated about me, and the fact that he's saying that you're such to me you're just such a strong advocate for just try it and just do it, and if it doesn't work out, then okay, hey, it didn't work out, and it didn't quite work out the way that we wanted it to.
Right.
But hey, there's a guy that's literally starting up. There's one more time that I'm sitting in front of this guy that's just trying something new that I know for a fact is might seem a little shaky and a little off, and maybe in your mind, but I can tell you for a fact, dude, this is definitely going to work out for you. And all you got to do is just keep on doing it because you're already off to a hell of a start. And the fact that you have the ability to literally just say what you want to say and then sit back and you take in the listen and then you learn, and that's what the whole point literally
as I fumble with a camera.
That's what I feel like that's what the whole point of, like, even just something as simple as that, of just trying shit out for the very first time, that a lot of stuff that you don't know how this is really going to go, other than the fact that you can try, you can plan it in your head, or you can try all you want to, like,
and
plan
it's
the
always
shit out
perfect in your head, yeah.
Always. Until the moment you literally sit down and you actually start doing it, and then that's when the real scare part, it literally all goes back to, at the end of the day, I feel like it always just goes back to overcoming fear. We have those two options, and you've heard it tons of times. People have heard it tons of times. All you got to do is, Jesus Christ, just go click on a fucking daily motivation video and go listen to Denzel Washington, or go listen to Jim Carrey's speech 100 million times. They're talking about the only thing difference in life is between love and fear. And it's like, actually, because it's true. It really is. It's 100% genuine when it's the fact that you either are dealing in fear or you are dealing in love. And if you can combine both, and you can literally combine the fear with the love of knowing how bad I'm going to hate this, parts of it, not maybe all of it in this sense, you're doing something that you absolutely love and might not like some of the things that are going to happen to you. But either way, you still got a fear that's going on before you did it. And you still had a fear that was still crippling, that might have been crippling in a little way. And that reward of overcoming it is just like, literally, like, it's honestly like, it is, you can't put a price on this reward. There is no, other than the fact that you literally just, this feeling of this wonderful feeling that encompasses every single part of your body, that you wish that you could just share actually with other people.
Yeah, and it might take years. Like, it might take years until you feel that fulfillment. And
that's true.
Especially musically, for me, on the insecure, pessimistic side of listening back to my own music, because obviously when you make your first recording, you think it's the greatest sounding thing in the world, but then you get that, like, moment of insecurity where you're like, shit, maybe I'm not so good at this.
Exactly.
But then on the flip side of that, and that's, the ongoing struggle of being any sort of artist or creator, is like, you're proud of something, and then the next day or the next hour or minute, you're embarrassed of something.
Yeah.
And that's because you love it. And it's the same thing about having a fear of getting on stage or getting in front of a camera or hitting record, is you get that red light syndrome because you're so passionate about it. Yeah. And that's another thing I want to talk to you about. I have it on my little cheat sheet, is I feel like you don't get the red light fear, especially drumming or singing. Like,
not anymore.
You never had it even when you were in the band, though. Like, if people were recording, that pressure pushed you further. When I subconsciously, I want to be the best when a camera's on me, especially.
Yeah.
But that thought trips me out to having my worst takes and performances of all time.
Got it.
Because it's being documented. It's because it's being recorded.
You want it to be absolutely right, and you want it to, everything in your head, you have this big deal of, like, wanting it to be so right and wanting it to be so awesome. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of producers hate my guts for how many times that I would get. Now, back in the day, I actually did get red light fright, but it was more of, I worked on something so confidently, I would take, like, that 1,000,001 hours with one song to work on it for that many times and try and get it exactly perfect, exactly the perfection of the way that I wanted it to be. And then that would take away the red light fright. Then you start screwing up, and you start getting really mad at yourself for screwing up. And then I would start throwing drumsticks and start getting really pissed and pacing the entire room and screaming into the microphone until I had to watch the producer turn off the mic because he couldn't listen to me screaming in the room anymore. And just, I would get really, really, really mad. But it was more of, I was in this internal war and endless competition with myself. It was always trying, it wasn't with the producer trying to like, oh, time is money and I can't waste his time. It's like, no, you don't understand. I can't waste my time. I don't want my time wasted. Mm-hmm. I want my time to be absolutely 100% perfect in the way that I'm going to go in there, and people are saying you can't be a perfectionist. Sure as fuck you can. You absolutely can be a perfectionist. The only way you can be a perfectionist is if you take the time to make it as perfect as you actually really want it to be. And most people don't want to take that time. They want to take it like a couple times and, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Okay, it's good. It's really good. It's good enough. It's fine. Perfect. And that's that's perfect to a lot of people. And in the end, where to me, I'm like, no. We need to, I go back to old school where it's like, no, you had to work on a song. If you wanted to work on one song, then that meant it was like an actor. It's like, no. If you want that line to be absolutely perfect, it's because he stood in front of a mirror and he worked on it like 150,000 times. That 4 words, he worked on that 150,000 times because he wanted the expression and nuance and everything to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, your practice work ethic is probably why I think that you don't get red light syndrome. Is you go over things 10,000 times, you're probably on your 100,000 hour of drumming, and that's, and
it's still not boring because I know there's always improvement. I know there's always going to be something that I can,
the more
keep improving.
The more you know, the more you realize you have to learn still, and you've been at that point for so long, and everyone who sees you drum is just like, holy crap. Like the last time I saw you drum was for that in person, that what was that metal band you were playing in again? Decatur. And I saw you guys at the Bovine, and it was one of those things where everyone in that bar was just like, holy shit, whether they're into metal or not, they were like, this band and this drummer, which is the most important part of a live band in most musicians' opinion, and I believe it's true, you're just killing it. And you could tell you rehearsed those damn songs as much as a 16-year-old kid in his room rehearses whatever Green Day song they're playing at the time,
Yeah, dude, the same bedroom musicians that just locked themselves away and was like, how are you still playing? It's past dinner. I don't understand. And it's like, that's why you don't understand, because they're sitting up in their room. They're loving it, and they're not into you don't understand. They're not into their 10th hour. They're into like 5 minutes because they don't realize how much time they've actually really packed away and everything that's going on. But we'll get back to the red light fright thing, and the fact that, man, I love the fact that I was able to take the old school red light fright competition with myself, and now able to just very simply pack that all in and know the concept that whatever's going to happen, it's like this. It's like literally like the way you threw Caution to the Wind, of like, we just literally threw on record, threw up some stuff, threw on record, and like a few days ago, it was like, Steve, would you like to do a podcast? Absolutely. Now you're putting the stuff together, and now we're doing this and just trying it and seeing what's going to happen, and literally let the chips fall where they may. And that's the best way things always end up coming out so organically.
Yeah.
You take that part away, and then that's when all of a sudden that's when the overanalyzed competition and everything starts to come back, and I realize how much more important and fun it actually really is to just literally just, my God, man, just let it all go. Just let all of that just so go away. It's hard sometimes because my mind likes to reflect back on those kinds of perfectionists, want to be competition with myself and hate on myself for little things that don't work out right and all those kinds of things. But at the same time, though, if I keep working on it every single day, all right, maybe we can actually make this thing as we continue to make the thing and turn the red light fright more and more off into just a little into this big fun thing, if you will.
Yeah, and like anything, the more you throw yourself at it, the easier it gets. And
yeah,
I guess I experienced that too, is like the longer I'm out on the road or the more consecutive shows I have where there are people pointing their phones at me as I'm like playing, I'll get out of my head a little less, or in my head I'm now saying, all right, I know I'm gonna hit this. It's like the golf shot. If you think your ball's gonna go in the water, it's gonna end up in the water.
It's gonna end up in the water.
Whereas like the times where I'm like, oh man, in my own head thinking, of course I'm gonna miss that high note when someone's filming, and then I nailed it the last 5 nights in a row.
Yeah.
Of course I'm gonna forget to change my batteries in my mic for the show where there's a lot of people, and then that throws you off and you start sweating, and it's like, but the more you experience it, the more you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I can handle the situation. It happens to everybody, and the more professional I handle it, the more people are going to be like, wow, he's a lifer too. And I've gotten that response from even like at my last show, the dude from Live Nation was there through a job that I was working, and and my batteries just like for some reason shorted out in the mic. Like I had charged them and everything.
Yeah.
But for some reason, these batteries just weren't liking that mic that day, and I kind of knew about it right before the show, but I was like, well, too late. Like you got to roll with it. And then in the middle of the show, that happened, and I would like quickly grabbed another pair of batteries and popped them in after it happened twice, and then from there it was good. But I had like gotten the crowd to sing those parts. Luckily, it was during a song where a lot of people knew.
Yeah, and you literally like wung it and was just like, okay, I got to roll with this and just keep on going.
Yeah, and so I was like, man, like, of course this would happen in the best venue I've ever played, in front of the biggest crowd I've ever played to. And then the next day I saw that Live Nation dude, and he was like, dude, like the way you handled that showed that this wasn't your first rodeo, and like you knew that it didn't really matter, and you made a show out of it, and I was like so honored to hear that from him. And I was like, I didn't even think of it that way, but I kind of did in the moment. I was like, stay cool, don't show the crowd about how pissed you are that this would happen in the most significant time of your performances.
Honestly. And straight up, man, of like all this talk about, love and fear and everything like that. It's like, honestly, we were talking about this before the podcast, but now I have an opportunity to say this into a mic and say this in front of some people that are watching and everything like this. This guy is like one of the biggest inspirations in my life, as far as the fact that he got in a van and just decided to take this Rosedale thing. I'm going to get in a van. I'm going to go. Did you talk about being scared, man? That's a whole nother animal of I'm going to go take on the world myself. Most people would be so discouraging of it. And I can't even imagine the amount of people that were like, you need to get it. You need like stop doing this yourself, and you need to get a band. Like, oh my goodness. When it's like, no, you actually took the whole idea of what we were just talking about, what I was just telling you about before, of the fact that sometimes you just got to grab the bull by its horns, and you literally got to do it yourself. If you're coming across too many people that unfortunately are intoxicating your own environment, that that you can take on your own, all your ideas, you're not to say that they're better or worse than anyone else's, you just trust yours more than what's going on. And the fact that, man, to watch somebody get in a van and literally go do all that on their own, and like really take on that amazingly daunting task that of setting up the whole show themselves, tearing it all down and doing the merch table, and there's a reason why you need that many people within a camp, and the fact that you were able to take all that and do it on its own, and turn the whole idea and concept of how to do things in a band upside down of what everyone else was doing. That's what truly inspired me, honestly, to actually keep like, okay, whatever ends up happening, I can't get discouraged. I'm going to keep on going, because it was one of the few inspirational thought processes that would just continuously come up in my mind.
Thanks, dude. It's funny to hear that like everyone sympathizes with the whole gear moving thing, because everybody knows I have an insane amount of gear, and we just put out like this parody on Fat Lip that's like setting up gear. Because as I was setting up gear, I started singing that after jamming Fat Lip with Nick from Mainsail.
That's funny.
So we took that so far, but everyone always says that is like, dude, you're crazy. How are you setting this up every night? How long does it take you? And
I noticed that even when I came to you on the Warped Tour gig, that it was like a lot of people are coming, how are you doing this? And
yeah,
go ahead.
But my response to that was eventually like, actually, this is probably the third most fun thing I do to make the 90-10 wheel of 10% performance, 90% preparation and practice. This is actually the most fun part. I mean, I enjoy. This is actually like I'm getting to use all this crap that I bought, which is always during my downtime. I'm like, damn, I have all this stuff and it's going out of date. And like I got such a good deal on so much of it through going to auctions and like being, you know, just a little more smart about my purchases. So I enjoy doing it while I'm doing it most of the time. And when I'm on my own doing it, it's kind of therapeutic and peaceful and like, all right, I'm getting ready for the war. I'm getting ready for the fight. It's like motivating to like set it all up yourself.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't realize, I'm sure you do, is there's a whole other list of tasks that go into doing what you love that suck. Like booking the tours and driving. I hate it. I hate all the driving. There. Yeah, like that shit sucks. But then, like, if you look at it, the most fun things are probably playing live to a group of people that genuinely love to hear you play live, which you get to do more and more the more you do it. Being in the studio is probably second, or working on music, whether it's old or new. Yeah. And then other than that, I mean, setting up gear and maybe having a couple people have a conversation with you while you do it is probably the most fun thing about being a musician. And then aside from that, you have booking tours. Practicing can be kind of daunting from time to time. For me, at least,
and that's the best part about band practice. Is like you can never be late for band practice. You're either always on time or always on time for band practice.
Yeah,
one guy.
I mean, practicing with a band is usually pretty fun. It depends on what you're working on.
For
practicing by myself was pretty fun too. As I was like, but editing all the videos, that really sucks. And I think a lot of people were seeing that too, especially in the live show. Is like, well, it wasn't just that he set all this gear up, is he programmed all these freaking lights, he edited all this video, and I think that I was like, hey, maybe it worked out that my band left me in the middle of a tour, and I finally just like dove into that, kind of like I'm diving into this. It's like, at first I was like, I'm going to suck at it. I'm going to suck at drums for a while, and I'm going to set a deadline for when Lee, who does all my video stuff before I got cameras, and he would edit a lot of my music videos too, but I was like, I'm going to set a deadline for when he comes here. I'm going to have to be able to drum because he's going to be filming me with 3 cameras, and I might not be as good as I want to be, but in a month and a half, he's going to be here. So go at it every day. And it just lit a fire under my ass to get better until I actually started figuring out that the technique was making me sweat less, and the practicing, the daunting practicing and technique was paying off.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy. When I came to your show and I saw you had a full video set up and a full like you have a band only, but you just went and pre-recorded the whole thing to give everybody.
Yeah, I was so stoked you came. I appreciate it so much when people come out, because until they see it, they are telling me that dude needs a band. Before anybody sees it, they're saying that, because here I am on the road, and they'll see maybe a video on a phone, which doesn't really justify, obviously.
No, not at all. But that's an experience. You're literally what you're doing. What you're trying to do was trying to actually give a live experience compared to what a lot of bands just unfortunately do not have the ability to provide anymore.
Right, and I think another thing,
you don't want to provide that anymore. It's not even the ability to.
It's not so much. It's not all about having great musicians. It's not about having even the look down, but it's the story now more than anything. I think it used to be 90% image, 10% sound, but now there's a big aspect of story in there too. So that was another reason I was like, if I have a projection screen that shows where I make all my stuff, how I do it all myself, that there's not just some producer handing me stems to throw into an Ableton session and hit play. Like, I know what the hell I'm doing. I'm an audio engineer as well as a performer. It just got frustrating when people weren't coming out, and that's why I was like, maybe I need to take a step back and really master the online presence. And to do that, I had to change the name, because it's not the first thing that comes up when you search Rosedale, unfortunately. And this like DJ from France's shows were popping up on my friggin' Facebook. So it was like Cry Wolf. People didn't even know. And Spotify, like, they didn't even know if I was releasing new stuff or touring. Crazy. A lot of people were like, so you're playing in France? Oh, so you're playing in Texas next week? Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, but I am actually playing in Texas in April, and they don't know what to believe anymore.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and then like so much of it was just like from the horse's mouth, promotion, shameless self-promotion of like, dude, come out to the show. I saw you're a fan of Mayday Parade. I was going with that whole thing for a while, which I learned through a lot of educating myself on marketing that is a terrible idea, as well as many other ideas that I've tried. And I've actually like really enjoyed the last year and a half of taking a step back from it and being like, okay, I need to reevaluate how I'm going to present this new one-man thing. And if it is going to be still a one-man thing, or at least centered around myself, it's got to have a name that matches that, and a name that matches the sound, and like all these things that I wouldn't really consider before, or didn't think were actually important before, are like explained through like audiobooks and YouTube videos and podcasts of why it is important. So
It's true, man. That's true.
I could only hope that what this does is also educates and inspires other people and artists and kids to try and think outside the box and look outside their bubble of, hey, maybe I can try different things, or maybe what I'm so confident is going to work is not actually going to work. Maybe it's not the right way.
Yeah, I feel like you got a really good thing here with the fact of just being able to talk about your art and just being able to talk about, and also for the fact of how many people who are artists and really how much of that is actually being taken away from a lot of people right now, or at least feeling like it's being taken away. We have the option clearly that all you have to do is literally just sit with yourself, create what it is that you want, think about what it is that you love so much, be really afraid of starting it, and then take that first step of what it is that you want to do. And I feel like that's a kind of almost a perfect theme, really, for this first episode.
For sure,
is really just having that ability to be able to just
go fuck up, go make
fuck
mistakes.
up, man. Honestly, that's that. There you go. You need to make those shirts and put them up on your website, and there you go.
What are you aspiring to do in the next 1 year, 5 years, whatever?
Honestly, man, what I really, really want to do, and I've taken a lot of time to really think about this, is the fact that I love to share stories. I love to talk. I love to. My favorite thing to do in the whole world is to sit across from someone and just say one thing that I know for a fact, that I know I got inside of me, that I know that is coming out, and I know with just relaxation and just allowing the conversation to go the way that, allowing myself to just let the words just come out the way they're supposed to. I feel like I haven't really tried to go out of my way, but it's been a lot of inspiration that's really come down the pike, that I've managed to inspire actually quite a few people around me in the circle.
Totally.
And in a lot of people that I've met throughout my life. That being said, it's time to take this shit to a big stage.
Good.
It's time to finally take this motivational type of speech and this type of, honestly, I don't give a flying fuck what anyone thinks about the way you think I talk, how I act, how I carry myself, all of the above, other than the fact that I know there's going to be a lot of that, oh shit, the guy said shit and he said fuck, oops, that means that we should kibosh the whole speech because he said fuck. And it's like, actually, I really enjoy guys like George Carlin. I really enjoy guys that really go out of their way to be very intellectual and have this incredible intellect about the way and this incredible, and in a way that it's like, not boasting about myself of the actual intellect, but the fact that they carry about this wisdom in their speech and intellect. And then they also have no problem just telling people to go fuck themselves every now and again, because it's just fun to like just literally say, not necessarily that, but just having absolutely no problem telling it like it is, and just having absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. My point is that I really genuinely want to go out there, and I want to start actually being able to get on a bigger stage and being able to actually take these stories and take my life and take these things that I know for a fact that would really genuinely help a lot of people and a lot of millennials that are all confused about why they turned out the way that they turned out. No idea how to change it. Yeah, sure. I've heard a lot of guys that are like 18 talk about when they were, I was 18, I changed my life when I was, 20 or 22 or whatever. No. I've never heard one person that has ever gone up on stage in their 30s and still living that practically were living with their parents their entire life, was given every single thing and crapped all over them for it, screamed and yelled about absolutely everything for no reason, and carried the most amount of anxiety that I could ever picture in a human being. But it's only because I've lived with it for as long as I have. And no ambition at the end of the day of where he's going, because he had his parents literally coasting for him his entire life and taking care of him his entire life, only to have it met with, unfortunately, a lot of backlash and a lot of having to change my entire life at 30 years old and moving forward and making it an everyday incremental change really ever since then, to the point where 5 years later, now you talk to me, I'm 35, and now I've had 5 years to dissect all of this and understand it for what it is, that I think this could actually really, really genuinely help a lot of people who are just as confused as I was, going to like, okay, that's cool of what you do when you're in your 20s, but what do you do when you're actually into almost your 40s and you're still struggling with these kinds of things and just not allowing them to just move on, and I'm too old and this, that, and the rest of it? It's like, no, there is a real answer for all of this, and there is a real way to be able to help. And I feel like the biggest way to help of all is to just very simply be really, really, really genuinely scared at whatever it is that you're about to run into. Face the fact that you have to run into the thing that you have to run into. Hate it as much as you want, and know that that's the way it's supposed to go, and you're supposed to hate this all the way through until you learn to love it.
Well, I think you're, one, very inspiring because you bring that to the table, but I also think right now you're being a little hard on yourself, because for the people who don't know, you've actually accomplished a lot. And what is also inspiring for the people who do know you is the way you look after your brother. Maybe you can explain like a little bit of
absolutely
what your brother's condition is, and what you've. I mean, every time I've seen you two interact, I'm just like, no, that's a awesome brotherly. You're an amazing brother.
Absolutely, because yes, it did sound like I was being a little bit too hard on myself, but at the exact same time, though, I feel like that was a very primitive point of my story to actually really tell, is the fact that it can be inspirational to a lot of people, but I can tell you that I was not inspirational to a lot of people a long time ago. It was that in itself was a change. That was a big change that had to happen. And same with my brother. Mine and my brother's. My brother, he has a developmental disability. He is 29 years old. He's 30 years old. He's going to be 30 years old this year. And he is literally the biggest possible glow of light that anyone could ever meet. He is literally...
Agreed.
Like, there is no darkness within him whatsoever. He has the highest level of glow of light I've ever met in my entire life. All he does is laugh, smile, ask you about you. All he cares about is he just wants to know about you, and then also wants to talk to you about all the things that he's got going on in his life, but just do it with the biggest smile and do it with the utmost enthusiasm ever, where he's practically shaking when he's asking you, how are you? Because he just loves people so much.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that we got going on in this world, is how many people love each other. And with Chris, it's a deal of like, all you have to do is meet this kid for 2 seconds and you'll fall right in love with him. My relationship with him, though, is one of the fact that we just are so different people, and we had to literally learn to actually work with each other, because it was a deal where I didn't have that kind of brother that I would come home at night and be like, or I would come home on the weekends and be like, oh man, I had such a great weekend, and we would have like this really intimate conversation where it was, no, I actually had to learn with my brother to almost treat him like my son, or I had to learn to almost treat him as my kid, like I'm his caregiver. Mm-hmm. And how it was a point where I had to kind of hop in with the folks as well. And and straight up, that was actually very, 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 very difficult. That was very hard to learn how to almost treat my brother like a son when I didn't even know how to be a dad, and I was almost like and truth be told, so full of mental health that it was actually very, it was a very, very, very odd thing to really learn how to become a true brother to Chris. Of what do I do to actually become like the actual caregiver and the love giver that I actually really can, instead of taking all of the mental health stuff and being really selfish about our relationship. Of how do we actually like just work as a super team? And it's only been with actually working with him lately on his developmental disability, of the fact that he has a lot of things within his life that and I digress, because, hold on, let me just get a sip of water here. I'm supposed to be talking about my brother here, like, I've got a real flow going on here. However, it's been I really got to tell you guys, it's been a very tremendous lack of sleep, number one. I don't blame it on too much of it, but the fact that, man, crazy work week, and yeah, not a lot of sleep to boot, and not a lot of food today to boot as well. So when you combine all of those things, it's a little bit of a mental struggle going on here. So I thought I would fill you in on that.
No, you're doing well. Sorry, you're working your ass off all week, and
no, it's cool, man. Honestly, I'm sweating right now because I'm like, I should be talking about my brother. I should be able to just like, I've had such a flow going on. I should be able to just flow right into whatever I'm talking about my brother, because I love him so much. That's what it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. I love my brother. I'm gonna cancel out all the other digression and just literally, I love my brother so much. He's my favorite person in the whole world. All we have ever done is literally grown off of each other, literally our entire lives. That's the way it's always been, in every way, shape, or form. Is literally just taking every single thing that he knows in life, every single thing that I know, and combining both of them into this wonderful brother brain, if you will, of that we can just count on, rely on each other, and just literally love each other wholeheartedly. That there's literally nothing else involved other than we just love it. We couldn't love each other more if we tried.
It's amazing, man. Every time I see him and you guys together, I'm just like, and I think a lot of people would agree when they see this, is like, on one hand, you're almost thinking like, man, how lucky are we to just be in the position, to be born the way we are?
Yeah.
But also, on the other hand, how stupid are we to be considering our problems when this guy is so happy, and he's so happy to have his brother and his family.
Honestly.
And he's helping his brother, and he's helping me right now, and everybody around him be so much happier and and smile for the rest of the day. So I think that's and he's also really amazing. He won like a bunch of Special Olympics too, didn't he?
Yes, he won first place in Special Olympics for the 1500. For the 500, and then for the 1500, and he ran the 1500, the 3000, and that was another connection. It's awesome that you brought that up, because that's actually a huge connection between the both of us, and where we started actually, what I was actually talking about before, because there was an actual point to the insatiable ramble that I was kind of going on before, the fact that with Chris, there wasn't a lot for us to really connect on. There wasn't really a whole lot for us to connect on in terms of that, because his speech was very limited, and mine was very, go off and hang with my friends. And so I'm having a lot of my friends' speech that I'm trying to have conversations with my brother, realizing that we can have very little of. And so it was a deal of like, okay, how do we connect here? How do me and my brother actually like really honestly connect? And then we found that with running, when one day I just noticed he was doing his thing. He was jogging a little bit, but then he'd stop, and then jog a little bit, and then he'd stop. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if this kid actually has some interest in running. And so I asked him, and it was when his speech was very like yes, no, and very like not very sentencey oriented. Today, oh my God, you can talk to him about anything, and his sentences have grown so significantly. Wow. But however, back then it was a matter of, hey Chris, are you really into running? Do you like running, dude? And he's like, yeah, yes, Steve, I really do like running. If it was today, it would be, yes, Steve, I love running. Let's go for a run. But back then it was, yes. And so that became a deal of where we finally found our connection barrier. And we started training. And I was like, I think this kid could actually run in Special Olympics and actually do really well. And then a year later, it was a deal of, wow, we both have laminates and we're both on a track together. And holy crap, I can't believe this. And this is amazing. And it just went from one thing to another. And then ever since then, we both have taken not only our running, but just like fitnessy, everything to another level. And it's just been it's been so fascinating, literally, to watch Chris do his thing and grow from like just barely a jogger to like, oh my God, this kid loves running so much more than life itself.
Yeah. And I think that really shows that you really inspire him to accomplish those goals, and I'm sure that he's really inspired you to accomplish a lot of your goals, which there's a lot that we haven't gone over. I mean, you were over in Japan playing drums for a couple years, was it?
Actually, I was over in Japan. I was in Taiwan.
Okay.
For 2 months, and I was over in Singapore. I was over there for 4 months, living over there.
Wow. Okay.
And that was with a tribute. That was with a cover band. That we've gone back to talking about just go for it, man. Mm-hmm. Just screw it and just go for it. That was literally off of answering an ad on the internet.
Wow.
There was literally just some ad that said, "Would you like to play drums in Asia? Would you like to play drums in a cover band in Asia?" And for all I knew, I was going over there and I was going to go join a sex trade or something like that. I had no clue what the hell was going to happen to me when I got off that plane, other than the fact that, and that's terrifying, dude. When you were flying to one of the furthest points of the earth from one to the other, to literally go stand there with a cover band that might be there. You've talked with them on the internet and like, oh yeah, we're all going to be here, and especially the fact if you want to add if you want to add more pressure to it, it's like, oh okay, so you've never used backing tracks before, you got to learn all those, and you also have to learn 150 cover songs on your own at your own house before you go to the place, while everyone else on different parts of the world was also learning the songs on their own. You didn't get a band practice or anything like that. No, you just show up and literally like you walk in and we got half a rehearsal. We didn't even get a full rehearsal. We got half a rehearsal because we showed up on the day of, and we flew in all together. We met, and then we went downstairs and we played for about 45 minutes, which was literally one set worth of stuff, and then you're off and gigging, which, by the way, you still haven't rehearsed the other 3 sets that you're going to be playing that same night. So
just winging it.
And that was literally what it was all about that night. That was one of the craziest nights of my entire life, because I had no idea how that was going to go. None of us did, and we all thought it was...
You didn't even know if you were getting out of the airport.
Yeah, honestly,
a band.
Honestly, I remember going over there and being like, "Hey, dude, hopefully they don't grab you and throw you in a van when you get there and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I hope so too."
Was it like an agency, kind of like a cruise ship style agency?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so you looked into that and you were like, "Okay, they actually do this."
Yep, but it was also very experimental. It was also L Live Productions, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you go look up L Live Productions, they are very well renowned right now. They have a lot of business going on right now. But however, back at the time when I was actually doing it, oh man, that was crazy. It was when L Live was just kind of in their interim of, they only had so they're an occupancy where they promote a bunch of different bands, sending them all over Asia into different hotels, into the different Grand Hyatt. They have a contract with the Grand Hyatt Hotel and all the different Grand Hyatts, and so they put the band up, and you just live in the Grand Hyatt and you go play in the bar of the Grand Hyatt.
That's all right.
And that's your gig for the next 4 months. And so it was like really, really, really cool, and it was really fun. And then I totally mind blanked, and now I'm going off on something else. So we're just gonna kibosh it right there. I'll find it and then I'll come back to it.
Sorry, I was like, in my head, I'm thinking of, I just worked a Grand Hyatt gig in San Diego doing like corporate audio, audio, video, more setting up gear as a little side gig, and it was fun. But yeah, it's a nice place to live.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and then I guess really in the big roundabout way of just like making this put the exclamation point on this was the fact that was the biggest test of fear to me. One of the biggest tests of fear that I ever really had was really just getting on a plane and not even really knowing. That was the best part. Was I was so into just like, yeah, let's do it. Like I literally, it never dawned on me about any of these things that could potentially actually really truly kind of go wrong.
And a country, was there a lot of English speaking or?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
they have Singlish over there.
Okay.
So it's basically like if you're going to Asia, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. There's your little tidbit for if you ever go to Asia and you want to go to your first place. Go to Singapore because it's all English based. They understand yo guy, what's up, all that stuff that we get here, and pretty much gives you the interim of like, okay, this is what you can expect if you go over here. This is what you can expect if you go over there. This is what you can expect, and they will give you the actual like 150% like authenticity, and especially the fact that you're actually meeting tourists who are coming in. You're meeting those kinds of tourists
all over the
world. Singapore is like the central hub, basically because it's just so effing expensive that it's literally a deal of like it's a super central hub for all the businessy men that literally tour Asia making tons of money and doing the things that they're doing, that they come in and you can ask them about whatever is going on in all those different parts of Asia and you'll get the actual real authentic full base version of exactly what 100% of what you're going to be in for of wherever you go.
That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they were lucky to have you. I'm sure you had a lot of people stoked to see you drum out there too.
Yeah, man. I still have friends. It's awesome. I actually still have friends from out there as well.
That's so cool.
And the fact of going over to Taiwan as well. And yeah, it's some crazy stories that happen over there for sure.
And then your band won that thing to go to Ireland too.
Yes. We won Indie Week. Indie Week 2012. And we ended up going over to, and our prize which was Indie Week Toronto 2012, and which was an amazing thing that was started up by Daryl Hers of Indie Week. Daryl, if you ever see this or whatever, man, seriously, shout out. You're awesome. Daryl, you're awesome, man. They started up this amazing thing for independent bands, which unfortunately, as you know, as many of you know, independent bands are just not really a big deal anymore. It's really more of just, there's a couple of them that are very good, and then the rest that are, that maybe should have never really left the garage. And so what this contest really did was it really stepped the game up, not only for like, okay, you're going to be competing, but it's going to be competition with like very good bands. And so you're probably going to want to step your game up. You're going to want to step your performance up. You're going to want to step your all the above. So it really gave everybody the criteria of really, if you want to go overseas, you want to win this prize, because the prize was you get to go to Irish Indie Week. They fly you over to Ireland while the Irish Indie Week is going on, and do a showcase performance once every night for the 3 nights that we were there, for the 4 nights that we were there. And then you have an opportunity to really showcase and check out what Ireland is all about as well, and and really get a chance to understand professionalism and see what that kind of professional world of independence really is. And Daryl, he flew us over after we ended up winning the thing. It was 250 bands. We ended up happening to be the one band that ended up winning the thing. They flew us over, and that experience was just, man, I can't even tell you how amazing that was, to actually get a chance to really sit with a panel. And also the best part was that they set you up with a panel of what you should do for social media, how you should go about doing covers, how you should go about actually orienting yourselves for really making sure that everybody has a specific task within the band that it can be taken care of, and that nobody's overthrown with objectives. And that if you do have something that maybe you think about, maybe you want to pass the buck to, is there a way that maybe you could fix it? And if not, then maybe you could both work on it, rather than just making this one person within the band and literally throwing all of the work on this one person, rather than could we all work together to maybe make this thing work. Obviously, very different when you're a one-man show, but if it's 4 people, okay, now we got to actually work together. Really getting a proper understanding for the road, getting a proper understanding for your meals, getting a proper understanding for
mailing lists,
all of it, of like these crazy things that you actually really have to take into consideration that a lot of people really didn't get it. You don't give yourself a chance to unless you actually sit down with somebody and they teach you. And fortunately, that's what they were able to do. And then also go into and then get of course, being able to get the extravagance of the performance of being able to perform across the pond and get on a plane, be a band, get on a plane and go do something that, quite frankly, not a lot of independent bands don't really get a chance to do.
Yeah, those conferences are fun. They're great. That's like what I spend most of my time doing now at, like, when I go to NAMM and I'll play at the West Tone booth, and then I'll just like go check out the seminars and the conferences because I'm just like, my mind's always like, holy crap, I'm taking in so much information for free right now.
Yeah.
I got to take advantage of this. Like, we can't miss any more of them. And like, I won't eat all day because I'm like, there's too much going on with these. Whereas before I was like, I got to check out all this gear. And then an hour in, I'm like, I'm exhausted from just seeing all the same new guitar companies and stuff.
I would imagine by day 3, it's pretty much like, okay, now it's time to go. I loved it. I loved the thought of it, and I loved all you're thinking about going here. And now it's day 3, and okay, I gotta go.
Until you're hearing like, oh, Chris Lord-Alge is going to talk about like how to get a better mix. Oh my God, I gotta hear every second of this.
Totally, I'm jealous of that, man. I've not been to a NAMM yet, but I'm jealous. One of these years, I'm gonna be getting out to it, 100%.
Yeah, hit me up if you ever do. Obviously,
oh, for sure.
It's just in Anaheim, like an hour away from where I usually am down in San Diego.
Yeah, it's wicked, man. Also jealous of that. Never been to Cali before. I'm excited for the time I'm going to get a chance to.
Yeah, you got to go. And I haven't been to the Nashville one, but I heard the Nashville one's a little smaller, but also very cool.
Right on.
Thanks for coming on, man. That about does it, I think.
Thanks for having, man. I really appreciate it.
I got you little goodies to take home, courtesy of Vocalese.
Right on.
Some throat drop candies that, like, if you ever get a sore throat from talking on my podcast for an hour. Some lippies.
This is wonderful, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All natural, yeah. I don't want to be like the whole, this podcast is sponsored by whatever, but Vocalese is just an amazing company that I really believe in, and they've hooked me up over the years. So, yeah, try it out. Enjoy it. Some supplements from them, too. And
honestly, man, I appreciate it. Thank
you.
Dude.
Thank you.
And thank you, Vocalese, for I've been keeping up every now and again with Mike's updates, and even the one interview that you actually did and everything. If I'm not mistaken, that you actually sat down and did a whole interview on Vocalese.
They made a cool video out of that I was like really honored by. But yeah, they're just a really cool company that they're also at NAMM every year and all these other cool music. They're like a music wellness company, and I think that's
right on.
That's got a lot of potential, and they're a great company. So
I agree, and this will also really help. Which, by the way, I didn't get a chance to actually shout this out or not, but go check on the YouTube.
Yeah,
Steve the Animal Drums is where I do drum covers, but I also got a couple of vocal covers up there as well. So so these guys are awesome. That I've never had a chance to use this product, and I'm really interested to find out all about this.
At Steve the Animal Drums on YouTube.
At Steve the Animal Drums at YouTube.
At Steve the Animal Mitchell on Instagram.
Yes, and then that's and it's at Steve the Animal Mitchell for I'm correcting this. It should be all one universal thing, one more businessy important thing you kind of got to do. I got to correct all that, but for now it's Steve the Animal Mitchell at Instagram and Steve the Animal Drums on YouTube.
All right, well that about does it. Thanks for being on and sharing your stories and your inspiration, and we're going to sanitize the area now, put our masks back on.
Yes.
And hopefully wrap this pandemic up very soon, but continue to create awesome art and amazing memories through music and whatever else is on the go. So thanks again, man.
Thank you very much, man. Honestly, really appreciate it. Super honored. And everybody, stay super safe out there.
We really did it.